Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. Today's video is going to be a palette dupes video. We're going to ask ourselves the question, are these palettes dupes or not? Welcome to everybody watching. I hope you are into eyeshadow palettes, essence and catrice, and getting the use out of your makeup as much as I do, because today's video is going to be another one that lines up with that perfectly. We're going to be chatting eyeshadow palettes, and we're going to see, now that I've used these, and we're going to do some comparison swatches so that we can really tell how similar are these really. So I have another 4 palettes here today for you that I think kind of do a similar thing, like they kind of dupe the vibes, and they're all very, very basic and neutral. So that's why I thought that could make for an interesting episode. And in case you're new here and you've never watched one of my videos, then know that I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, which greatly skews my makeup preferences. And because I have been buying, trying, and reviewing makeup for more than a decade, I have very strong favorites too. So if you'd like to join the Snow Angel Club, then definitely click subscribe down below. But wait, before we get to the video, this is Micah from the future. I'm feeling better again, but I was ill in the past week, so I wasn't able to post all of the videos I had already filmed and planned out for the past week. But since I don't want to just save them for a rainy day because it wouldn't make a lot of sense, I do still want to get them up for before the end of the year. But that does mean that you guys are going to get a new video every single day from me until the end of the year. So it's sort of like an impromptu vlogmas. So I hope you're here for that. So come back tomorrow, Monday morning, 5 a.m. Central European time. I'm going to be catching you up on the videos that I had still planned on posting. And I was filming today anyway, so I was like, might as well just film an extra clip so I can insert it into this video. Let me get back to this eyeshadow palette comparison that I've got going on for you today. So yes, which 4 palettes will I be featuring today? I've got some Colourpop, I've got some Huda Beauty, and I've got Kaleidos. And I think that if you just look at the packaging, you can already tell what we're going for. We're going for these peachy beigey tones. And this was entirely inspired by this. This is the Colourpop Cream Soda. So that's going to be featured today, followed by the Going Coconuts from Colourpop. And then as I was sort of browsing, I was like, but this, Huda Beauty, the Nude Light Obsessions palette, also has those peachy tones. And then we have the Kaleidos Sashimi City. So I'm not sure if this is still available, but that has that similar sort of vibe. So since these are very light, sort of peachy tones, I feel they work quite well for me. But I can also understand that some people look at these and go like, that could never ever work on my skin tone. However, maybe I can show you a little bit what you could potentially do with these. So let me first talk about these individually, and then we'll go to the floor and do some swatches. I don't think I'll be able to do the swatches today because we're having such a dark, gloomy day that I think I'm gonna have to film the swatch bit at a different date. But we'll see how things go. If I have enough light when I finish filming the sit-down part of this video, I might still do that. But yeah, maybe if you suddenly see that I'm wearing a different top, then that's why. So Cream Soda by Colourpop. I think this is a great neutral palette, and as I mentioned, this is the instigator of the entire thing. These little 4 pans from Colourpop are actually quite good. I have a couple of them. Granted, now that I've tried all of them, I do feel I don't necessarily need to keep all of them, but in terms of good quality Colourpop eyeshadow, I think these little quads are the most consistent in their entire line. Like, I've tried other Colourpop things in the past where you just feel like, why is everybody raving about it? So I feel that Colourpop as a brand is a little inconsistent, making it really hard to tell whether something you buy is going to be good or not. This is one of the good ones, I have to say. So in here, we get 2 mattes and 2 shimmers. And especially this like peachy shimmer is this intense, high shine kind of thing that really transformed this look from something super basic. Because when you do, like, you get a crease shade, you get something to blend it out with, something for the lid and the lower lash line, and then something for the inner corner. Like, it's like one look in a palette. It's so basic. But I thought we could also look at some very basic things in this thing for sure. Like, so far I've looked at much more exciting color stories in this series, but yeah, the Cream Soda from Colourpop, good quality for sure, and they keep doing some of these. I think they just came out with a new line of these those look nice, but I decided to skip them because I've tried enough Colourpop and I've just decided that if I buy from them once a year for Black Friday, I can get my Colourpop fix and I'll be just fine. Another neutral palette I have always deemed as one of my favorites is the Going Coconuts. So Colourpop's Going Coconuts is perhaps the more like brown leaning one of the things I have on offer here. I think the other tones, the other three palettes have a bit more peachiness than this does, but I feel that, for instance, this like high shine shimmer in the middle, it could very easily be a dupe for what we get in the cream soda. So I just want to determine, like, if you were still umming and ahhing about these, and I believe the Going Coconuts you can still get, the cream soda isn't, is this then something that would replace that? And I think we can, because we definitely get some warmth here. When this was released, so many people called this a cool tone palette. Take it from me, I've got a cool undertone that leans more neutral, I have to say, so I can sort of get away with everything, which, you know, is very helpful if you're reviewing makeup, but it's also a bit of a curse. But I can tell you that parts of this cool tone, something like this and this, but there's also quite of like peachy oranginess to some of these shades. So while it has some cool tone shades, this is not a cool tone palette, and that's why I've always dubbed this a neutral, right smack in the middle palette, which can be very hard to find indeed, because very often palettes are cool toned or warm toned, but a true neutral palette that really falls in between the cool and warm tone spectrum is incredibly hard to find, which is why I've also always appreciated this palette so much. So I just wanted to see how these two compared and whether Colourpop has duped themselves, essentially, because that's something that a lot of people are now like blaming Colourpop for. Like, they've just started duping themselves. Like, that's what they have been doing for a while now, and I just want to put that theory to the test with these two palettes. Then the Huda Beauty Nude Light Obsessions palette. I remember when this came out, I was like, it's very light. So I also have the Nude Rich to try and deepen this up and do some more interesting things. Now I hope you can see what I'm going with here, because here we get like a couple of these very intense high shine shimmers. How similar are these to the things we've got going on? And then we get some peachy tones here. We get this random bit of warmth, which I've never understood, but we also get these cooler lilac shades. So this is one where I'm like, you know, if for instance, if we take this quad, that's sort of giving me cream soda vibes. And then if you look at this, then that's like Going Coconuts vibes. So I thought that, save for those two like purpley shades, it's pretty much doing the same thing. So again, if for instance Colourpop is very difficult for you to buy, but Huda Beauty still does this, because I think Huda Beauty is a brand that you can pretty much find everywhere in the world without having to pay for really big shipping fees. So that could be a nice one. But another one that you can get quite easily, as in you do have to go online for this, but Kaleidos. Kaleidos is shipped from China directly. So that means that whether you're in the US or the EU, you're always going to be hit with the same kind of fees. And China doesn't have as high shipping costs as other countries do, which is why they can keep things quite affordable. Their shipping rates aren't really terrible. Again, not something... Is this still around? I hope it is. This was together with the Lunar Lavender, were the final two ones that they had released. And these were in stock for quite some time. I love the Futurism palettes for their packaging. In fact, the one that I like the least, like one of the ones that I like a little less than the others, I've repurposed by repressing other shadows into it so it can just keep the packaging around, because I love it so much. It's nice and slim and sleek, and we get this little fold out thing. You get the shade names there. These are magnetic pans as well, so you can take them out, which we always appreciate. But then, like, again, hold on, I need to, let me see if I can organize this for you. But if we do it like this, that's cream soda. And then if we take this away, like this is Huda Beauty, this is the Going Coconut. So again, I just think that these can do a very similar thing with slight nuances in how it's going to play out. Like if you like a little bit more of the cool tones, then maybe the Huda Beauty is nice for you. Maybe if you want it to be a little bit more peachy, then the Sashimi City might be nice. If you want something that's a bit more brown tone, then the Going Coconuts. You know what I mean? So I think that by comparing these four, it just made a lot of sense in my brain. Maybe I'm just a little weird, but remember, if you do have any requests for me to do a comparison of some palettes that you know I have, then definitely leave that in the description box down below. And now I'm going to cut to the floor and we're going to have a look at some comparative swatches. So it's time for the comparison on the floor. So let me open up these color stories so we can have a closer look. So I hope we can see everything. I'm trying to block as many mirrors as I can here, so I hopefully don't blind you. But I think I'm just going to swatch these out individually because, I mean, some of these are not that big, and then we can have a look at like how these compare. So, because I won't be able to swatch it all out on my underarms, so I think I'm just gonna do this one first because it's the smallest one. So here we have what the Colourpop Cream Soda looks like. That's those ones right there. And I'll put the Kaleidos right next to it. Yeah, so then you can see, I think, what I mean if I tell you that, you know, the Colourpop is like the Kaleidos, but without these two deeper shades. Like if you leave out the two deeper shades, then it's essentially the same. I think that perhaps this has a bit more pink to it rather than this is a bit more peach and it's a bit lighter, it seems. There's also like a chunkier sparkle to the Colourpop one for sure. But essentially, I think if we leave out this and this, you can see that it's essentially the same thing. So now I'll put these two on my underarm best I can. So that's what Going Coconuts looks like, and here you can see that again, that this shade in the middle is very similar to this shade right here, and again we get something that's perhaps a little bit more yellow gold rather than this peachy gold. But again, I feel that if we sort of leave out this and maybe like one of these like deeper shades, that you can essentially do the same thing here. And then I think I'll put the Huda right here. Ooh, so sadly I swatched this over the Kaleidos one, but then I think you can see that, you know, this is perhaps a bit more rosy rather than true peach, and then you get those like pinky, more cool tone mauves. But here as well, I feel that with the Huda Beauty, if you leave out some of this like pinkiness, that there's definitely shades here that can dupe the vibe. So, I mean, I don't think I really necessarily need to go in with too heavy of a, ooh, this shade can be this, and this shade can be this, and this shade can be that. I mean, I think like these four shades are essentially identical. Then something like this, and maybe this. This is a bit more cool tone, this is a bit more pink, this is a bit more mustard, this is a bit more creamy peach leaning. But I think that's pretty similar. Then in here, like one of these, I think it was this one, and this one. No, this one. These two are quite similar. I mean, the Colourpop is definitely more cool tone leaning in its deeper shades. The Kaleidos and the Huda have a bit more warmth in the deeper shades rather than the Colourpop. It's where the Colourpop is different, is that this is more cool toned, especially in this bottom row here. We get some warmth in these shades, and also in this, like that shimmer is nearly rose gold. But then in the Huda Beauty, you can see that those shimmers, I think it was this one. Yes, this one is definitely more of like a rose gold than something like this. This has a bit more peach. And then here we again get this more stronger pink shade, but nothing has what this Kaleidos shade does, where it's like that stronger pink with a golden flash. It's more of a duochrome. And then the one in the Colourpop is more of like that true peachy shade. But I feel that these two, essentially they will look the same on the eyes. Of course, there are very subtle differences here. Subtle. Again, also this is more of a duochrome, and none of these truly have duochromes, save for this, which is this shade right here from the Huda Beauty. It's that pink to gold. So I now think that of these, the Huda Beauty is perhaps the most, well, different, you could say. Like, with these pinky purples, I don't think there's a lot of neutral, like very light neutral palettes that give us that, but I would have wanted those 6 shades with some of these Colourpop shades. That would have been ideal. So this is still not perfect because of these warm tones here, even though that's the thing that's most similar to the Colourpop or the Kaleidos. And this shade right here, I'm not sure if you can see, but there are white flecks everywhere. This is a very messy shade. It keeps falling everywhere. So yeah, if you like your duochromes, then the Kaleidos. If you want something that's a bit more cool-toned, rosy pink leaning, then the Huda. If you want super light, the cream soda. And the Going Coconuts is going to give you the cream soda with some cool-toned, deeper shades. So if you want more versatility, more depth, but still make it very neutral without too much color, I think the Going Coconuts. Because also the Kaleidos, you can just see that this shade here, I mean, that's almost an orange. Well, especially in the viewfinder, it's an orange. It's like in the pan, you could think it looks more mustard. This is definitely more of an orange. So, based on your preferences, what will you pick? I mean, these are so similar though. You definitely don't need all 4. This is great. Like, for a declutter, I can definitely get rid of like two of these at least. I think these 2 are the most unique. These 2. I do still like the Colourpop. Like, the Colourpop Going Coconuts formula is really nice, but I definitely don't need to keep the cream soda, I think. What did you guys think? What would you guys do? Would you declutter any of this? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, they're all very pretty. See, this is why I don't... People always get mad at me for not including swatches when I do declutters, but the minute I swatch things out, I fall in love with things all over again. So that's why I tend to not swatch in my declutters at all, because then I look at the Huda Beauty, even though I haven't used it in a while, I'm like, oh, but this shade is pretty, and this shade is pretty, and this shade is so stunning. Like, really, it's only these 3 that I don't love. Choices. Yeah. So yeah, let me know in a comment down below what you would be doing. I would love to know. So yeah, that's the comparison done. I am filming this before I have filmed the actual comparison part of the video, so I don't know how similar these are. You do know by now, so thank you so very much for watching. I hope it was useful for you to get this information out there. Remember, if you want to leave a request for a comparison between some palettes that you know I have, then definitely let me know in the description box down below, or in a comment down below, I should say, because I can definitely see if I make it work. Please only request palettes that I have, because if I need to go out and purchase something just for a comparison, that's not really something that I tend to do. So if it's something I have, and I have over 250 eyeshadow palettes, so there's a lot here that we can compare. So I'm gonna keep this series rolling in 2023 for sure, so you can look forward to a new rendition of this video next month. So I hope to see you in that one. In the meantime, just know that I post regular content over here as well as on my blog, and I'm also doing some shorts now, so you can find me somewhere daily, really. I also have a second channel, so lots more content coming your way, so I hope you'd like to stay tuned for that. And of course, end of the year favorites between Christmas and New Year's Eve, just so you know. So I hope you'd like to stay tuned for all of that goodness, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye bye!